Welcome to another episode of the Swarmcast, brought to you by Swarm Pest Control Marketing. If you're looking to take your pest control business to new heights, you're in the right place. In each episode, we've got a hive full of expert insights, strategies, and success stories tailored exclusively for pest control entrepreneurs.
And we're here for episode 4 of the Swarmcast. On controls today, Lily Maddox, our engineer. So everybody's got to be nice to Lily, otherwise she'll give us the booze. We don't want that.
No booze.
No booze.
No
booze. We got one of the original founders of Swarm, Wyatt Chambers. How you doing, Wyatt?
I'm doing good. Doing good.
Good. You're kind of yoked. You just got out of the gym right now.
Got right out of the gym. I am ready to swarm this thing to pieces.
We need a little piece of steak or something after the
workout.
Yeah.
After the workout.
And special guest Greg Weatherly. How you doing, Greg?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
And if you could tell, I can see you're one of our pest friends.
I am.
Yeah.
One of the pesties.
One of the pesties. An original pestie.
Well, not that kind of original.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely original.
Yeah.
But
But he's got the most experience out of anybody I know about pest control.
Yeah. And it's been a couple years you've been in the business, right?
Yeah. Like 30, maybe.
About 30 or so.
Yeah.
28, anywhere from 28 to 32 years.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah.
So somewhere in that range, Lily, correct me if I'm wrong, that kind of makes somebody an expert, right? Yeah, if you're in an industry for about 2 to 3 decades plus, would you? I hope you consider yourself an expert at what you do.
I'm right up there with the top exterminologist.
Yeah,
That's an actual term.
Right, yeah.
Did not know
Kills
that.
bugs. Exterminology.
I wonder. We should put like a little like. Over the years, how many bugs have you been responsible for killing over the years?
It's been a lot.
Billions, maybe trillions of bugs over the years.
Could be. Yeah, lots of roaches.
So, Greg, is all your experience here in the South East Arizona?
So, prior experience, prior to Pest Friends, I worked for a top 10 company that out of the top 100.
Yeah.
That was a national company.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
I've lived most of my life in Arizona and California, but have worked and managed pest control in all 50 states.
Wow. See, I didn't even know that. I thought it was just here in Tucson.
No. Greg's been everywhere.
Been everywhere. So, if the audience doesn't know, I'm kind of creating the reason why you're here, the reason why you're going to give us some ideas and suggestions, because you're the guy, right? You're the guy, and we couldn't have nobody better here to sit in your seat for episode 4 for the Swarmcast than you, right? So
I hope I can live up to that.
yeah. Outside of being a 49ers fan, you're all right, Greg. You're all right.
That's a good thing.
Pest control people are sharpening their knives right now. We've set the bar way up here.
Yeah. So.
But, just speaking a little bit about Greg, is he's very down to earth. Nice to hear how he talks about the industry, where things are going, marketing background, M&A, executive C-suite. I mean, there's just so much experience that Greg could draw off of.
Yeah.
That we could go into a number of things.
Yeah.
But again, we're fortunate to have Greg on our Swarmcast today.
Yeah, and the first question for this podcast, kind of goes out for the both of you, So what challenges, over the years, and do you see in particular for 2024 that face pest control companies? Not just digital, not just what we specialize in, Wyatt, but in general, what overall challenges face pest control companies with their marketing?
Yeah, so with the experience that I've had over the 30 years, one of the big challenges is how many channels are open to people to advertise now, right? So back in the day, it used to be yellow pages. Your placement in yellow pages was extremely important, and you might have had some TV, maybe some radio, maybe some billboards or some local type advertising. But, now you've got Facebook, you've got LinkedIn, you've got all the different digital
The
marketing,
IG,
Google,
TikTok.
and you've got all kinds of things that now that butter
Yeah.
gets spread over a very large loaf, of bread, money wise.
I'm going to say that 17 times the next 3 days, Lily. So, yeah,
The
forgive me.
loaf.
That's
The
right.
butter's
That's
spread
right.
over a very
So
large
you
loaf.
got a lot to spread it over.
Yeah.
So picking the right thing, and then what are you doing in the right time of year? That matches up with weather.
Yeah.
You can do some great marketing, but if it's not the right time of the year and you're not hitting your target audience
Right.
with the right timing, it's problematic.
With what they see in their house or in the yard.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if they're not seeing anything,
Yeah.
you can put out a great offer and you're probably not going to get a lot of calls.
True. Wyatt?
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I've learned from Greg working with Pest Friends is, the weather controls those calls. And so one of the biggest things with marketing is amortization or return on ad spend. So you can spend a lot of money on different things in marketing, and depending on what size of company you are, that loaf may be spread thin.
Yeah.
And so when it's spread thin, then you got to make sure it counts. So, one of the things that we learned is, and it's not what Greg learned. It's what I learned working with Greg is, depending on the weather, it's going to drive, okay, now's the time to throw that placement of ad spend. And that's something at Swarm that we're doing. And I think that's one thing.
Right.
And we've worked with a lot of different other players in this industry. And I found it ironic, Greg. I looked at these websites, and we're talking about some big players in pest control marketing. Not one had anything to say about weather and changing their marketing efforts. Not one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the secret sauce. I don't know, but that's something that we are now. That's in our content for targeting for sure.
I wonder if that's out of, and Greg, I mean, you would know, but is that out of just kind of laziness of updating people's content?
It's probably a combination of things. I think that's part of it, right? It's like, hey, we've got an ad. You've got somebody not at the wheel,
Right.
or asleep at the wheel and
Right.
not really paying attention. But to me, that's a key metric, right?
Yeah.
I'm spending money on something that I want to return on my investment on,
Right.
and is what I'm doing appropriate for that time of the year and for the bug activity. I mean, you could put out a free offer for pest control, like, hey, first service free.
Yeah.
But if nobody's looking because it's the wrong time of the year, because it's
Right.
cold, wet, and rainy,
Right.
no, people aren't going to see that because they're not really looking for it. But if bug activity's up and you put that out, guess what?
Yeah.
Your phone's going to ring off the hook.
Yeah. We're just about 10, 12 minutes into this podcast, and that's a huge golden nugget right there. In any pest control company you're listening to that, just what we said in the first 10, 15 minutes of the podcast, I mean, that's of incredible value. And just to go over one of the points you made, a couple of decades ago, back when I got my marketing degree, Greg, do you know how many times it took before someone saw a billboard or listened to the radio or saw an ad on TV before they understood, oh, that's Greg's pest control company?
Yeah, it's a ton.
But back 20, 25 years ago, it was 7 times.
Yeah.
That's it, because our attention spans were so in tune with our surroundings. Today, it's about 20 to 25 times. So not only do you need to spread that butter across the loaf of bread, you got to spread it evenly. Longer, yeah. Maybe put a little honey or maybe some jam on it too. So your ads pop a little bit more, right?
Yeah,
So,
you've got to attract people
Yeah.
to what you're doing. It's got to look good, but it's got to be the appropriate message at the appropriate time.
yeah. Yeah. So what's another tidbit? I mean, what about just selling? I know we're kind of going out of our realm a little bit in the digital space, right? But that belly to belly selling, has that gotten easier, or is it more difficult than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago?
I think with the economy, kind of the way it is, sometimes you'll get people that'll make a decision, or it takes longer to make that decision to buy. They'll scrutinize it. They'll get more bids. So, with things like that, you want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward,
Right.
and that you've got something a little different than everybody else. Because at the end of the day, it's pest control.
Right.
Everybody that is in the industry does pest control.
Yeah.
We all get our products from the same place, but it's what you do differently that separates you from someone else.
Yeah. And why, to that point, when people are doing that extra research Are 5-star ratings important?
Oh yeah, I think with the reputation, you don't get Forbes Home Services flagging like Pest Friends in the top, 1 and 2 spots without having a spotless reputation. So we talk about a 5-star culture, and we talk to a lot of other people in pest control and home services that has to be the mentality, because people are trusting those reviews equivalent to talking to a friend.
Right.
And that's how, the best sells is a referral, right? So somebody's talking to a friend saying, hey, I want to help you. These guys service us next door. And once they check up the reviews, people do read them.
Right.
They read them. And, some people do put fake reviews. You can see right through that.
Yeah.
And some tips is, hey, make sure that they, mention the tech or say what they did.
Right.
And that's how you spot that. Greg's got something.
Well, I think a lot of people nowadays use reviews for everything. I don't think they're asking for the referral from their friends anymore. They're taking it upon themselves. They look for the reviews, and if the reviews speak to them, then they go with it.
Yeah.
No, that's a fact. I mean, that really is a fact. You see that in a lot of different. I would say Birdseye did a report, and that's like a review engine type of technology, and that's exactly what they said.
Yeah. So, Greg, has every one of your reviews across from Ford since the beginning of day one with Pest Friends been a 5-star?
The large majority of them, you'll get someone every once in a while that, for whatever reason,
Right.
was dissatisfied with it.
Yeah, and the point is, we're not going to satisfy every single,
You're not going
especially
to.
in a service industry, right? So, what's your strategy when you do get that one-off that is not completely 100% out?
Well, because our guarantee is 5-star service, we will call them and say, where did we let you down? What did we do wrong? And sometimes you'll get, I just think nobody's a 5. That's why I gave you a 4. Everybody can always do better. Or you'll hear the person that, we had one that I think gave us a 1. And that person absolutely just was disaligned with what we were going to deliver. I mean, we gave them so much service.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a good match.
Yeah.
We probably should have never sold the account based on that person's expectations.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, here's your money back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the effort's there.
Every customer is not right for your company.
Right.
You've got to have, an alignment with the customer and the expectations.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the speed too. I mean, you don't want to let a review sit there for days without responding to it. It's
Right.
when it pops, the technology should be there. If you don't have it, it hits you with an SMS or an email, and you respond to it same day.
Yeah, and Wyatt, from like our end, when we're assisting pest control companies with their reviews, what's the strategy or what's some advice on our part, and maybe some do's and don'ts from the pest control companies out there right now that are managing their own reviews?
Yeah, first of all, be asking for them, right? And have some sort of an SMS way of after the service is done, they're happy that they get a text that gives the customer the opportunity to leave that review. And it is their voice. And that will stop them from going to complain. If they have it right there, they click on it, they provide their review. So enablement, the technology enablement is there. So making sure that you're asking for them and making sure it's part of your KPIs and running your business.
If there's a negative review on there right away, but it may or may not be associated with your pest control company, should you reply to it right away?
You need to strategize with the business owner or whoever's there to make sure that it does get handled and it doesn't go unanswered at some point. You don't have to answer every single one, but if they were a customer, they need to get a phone call pretty quick.
What are some examples of reviews that a pest control company could actually go to Google and say, dispute it?
Yeah, if they're not a customer or if they were a disgruntled employee.
Right.
There's a lot of different types. I mean, some people will write a negative review and have slander in it.
Yeah.
Or bad language or attack somebody. You can get those removed. You can flag them. Sometimes they don't automatically go away, but you can have multiple people in your company flag it or customers, and then it goes away. Now, there's always going to be that one that stays for a while, but if you keep after it, and add it to do, it will eventually go away.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this, you need some assistance with that, just reach out to us, either direct message us, put something in the comments if you want some further direction on how you could actually go disputing a review.
I actually had a question for Greg. I thought it'd be a good one for the pest control PCOs out there that are listening is, how do some PCOs fail, Greg, as far as where did they go wrong in that early stage of business? Because Swarm isn't taking care of people beyond a certain level, but those first, you called it stage one. Where did most PCOs make a mistake between that first million?
So I think a lot of people that get into the pest control business, there's a very low barrier to entry. You can be a technician at a company, you can be a really good technician, and you're like, hey, I can do this myself.
Right.
You know, and you got a truck, and you get a little bit of equipment, and you get a few customers, and you're like, hey, we're off and running.
Yeah.
There's a lot to running a business, especially if you're not just trying to create a job for yourself. But to grow that and to know and understand all the different facets of one, the accounting, the customer management, paying the bills, having enough money to pay the bills.
Yeah.
You know, so I think a lot of people underestimate, you know, they were working maybe 8 to 10 hours at the previous job, thought, hey, I can do this myself. And now you're working 20 hours a day.
Yeah.
You know, and you're answering the phones and you're having to do the books and, you know, you're trying to do it, and it's not as easy as you think it is when you try to do that.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people get this negative fantasy on what this is going to be as opposed to what it really is.
Did I ever tell you the time, like one of my first marketing gigs was actually outside sales for a local pest control company? Did you know that?
I think you did mention that at one point.
Yeah. I like telling this story because there is a moral to the story. If you're going to have a phenomenal salesperson as myself out there for you, I sold more in the first 2 weeks than the guy had in new sales the previous year. So guess who was the one that actually had to service the accounts after I sold them?
Right.
Me.
Yeah.
I did not enjoy that.
Right.
I didn't enjoy it. I hate bugs. I hate bugs.
I was going to add to Greg's piece.
I do too. That's why I can't.
That's what we do. The E-Myth is a great book that talks about that journey from somebody being a good technician to getting upset, perhaps disgruntled, start their own business, and then, hey, they got to be a manager, they got to do all these other things. It walks through that story. It's a must read for any PCOs that maybe they're in that first stage and they haven't got it figured out. They've created a job, but they haven't gone to level 2.
And there's the flip side of that too. Hey, I have the knowledge and the experience, but I don't have the field technical. You know, and now you're trying to satisfy customers and take care of things that you've never had. And maybe you were that great sales guy, like Shawn.
Yeah.
But you can't service very well, and you don't like it.
I created so many issues when I was out there. Well, I will tell you a few stories while we're off the camera, but I created more issues than I solved when I was out there.
To my point.
Yeah, there's a few things that I don't want to admit on camera that I did.
The awesome thing about this industry is you're actually a superhero because you're really protecting public health.
Right.
You know, because without pest control, you're basically, you know, a lot of third world countries don't have access to pest control. Yeah. And, you know, luckily in the United States, we have the luxury of having the option to have pest control, which, you know, keeps a lot of bugs and sickness and disease from spreading over and over.
Yeah. When choosing, you know, and we're honored to have, you know, Pest Friends as a client of Swarm, right? But if someone who, you know, in the middle of USA and is looking for a digital marketing company to assist them with their efforts, what are some things that would make a good partner for that pest control company? What's something you would look for before you sign an agreement with a digital marketing agency?
Somebody that knows and understands what my needs are, right? So you may know your business very well, but if you don't know my business, I don't think it's as relative as it completely be. You know? And so you guys have asked the questions and done the homework and figured out, hey, this is what pest control is all about.
Right.
I think that makes it more valuable and a better partnership. You know, when both parties know what the need is and what the desired outcome. I mean, obviously grow the business, get more phone calls, do all that.
Right.
But how does that work? How do we make that phone ring? Is it relative? You know, to Wyatt's point earlier, you know, hey, I didn't know about the weather thing, but now I do, and it makes a difference.
Right.
And you've seen it firsthand why it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was thinking about some of the newer technology that has come out in the last even 12 months that we're looking to roll out, and that's using AI beyond Chat GPT, but also in the way of using big data. I call it Disneyland data, right? Where everybody has a cell phone. You know, we talk about different ways of targeting with pest control because you don't want to be driving all over the planet. Fuel, time will bankrupt you in pest control. Yeah. So we talk about trying to keep that area in a pretty densely packed arrangement where when you're using AI, you can target zip codes. You can target even, let's just say you're going after commercial. You can target areas and see where those employees are hanging out on. So now you can be showing, suddenly your ads start showing up the places that they're looking. So there's a lot of that coming along in conjunction with, you know, the weather patterns that I think what's neat is putting together solutions, like you said, Greg, is what are the needs? You know, besides just that, it's really being in tune with pest control. And I think that that's going to be fun this year to tell those stories as we go through 2024.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have many more episodes of the Swarmcast coming up this year. We will be having our first live webinar with Greg Weatherly pretty soon. We haven't told you about that, but that's
good to know. Thanks.
Good to know. Good to know.
Put them on the spot.
And we'll have that date hammered out pretty soon. We'll get that advertised and promoted, where everybody out there could either send a question ahead of time or join us live and throw some questions at us. So we look forward to that. Am I missing anything else, Lily? I think we're good. So until next time, we look forward to you joining the next Swarmcast. Thank you.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for tuning in. And remember, whether you're dealing with termites, ants, or the challenges of entrepreneurship, Swarm Pest Control Marketing has your back. And if you're hungry for more pest control marketing goodness, head over to swarmpestcontrolmarketing.com for additional resources, guides, and insights tailored to your business's growth.